Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode of HDI Local Chapter's live stream show. Let's start off by recognizing our sponsor, Robert Half Talent Solutions. Robert Half is a talent solutions company where they find talent to help you keep your business going. As we were just talking about in the pre-show, right, about how hard it is right now to find good talent or to attract good talent is more like it, right? So if you go to roberthalf.com/technology, they can help you not only find employees, or if you're looking for a job, find a job, but they also have other cool things out there like salary guides and resume building tips and interviewing tips, both for the candidate and for the employer. So you got to check them out at roberthalf.com/technology. All right, let's go ahead and get on with the show. So today our guest is the Maddie Blumenthal. She's the VP of Customer Success at QStack. After almost a decade in customer support and success, she uses her unique perspective on the customer experience to build alignment between IT and the business. Now, when Maddie's not supporting customers, she can be found hanging out with her dog. Is it Merle? Is that how you say that?
Merle,
I forgot to ask you that beforehand. Or in the tennis court working on her forehand. Well, Maddie, welcome to the show.
Very excited to be here. Thank you so much for letting me.
We are so excited. I said I couldn't wait to get you on the show. We have a mutual, well, it's your sidekick, but mutual bestie of mine, Ben Brennan, who we'll go ahead and give him a plug for, before we get started. If you're watching, check out his pod, IT After Hours. Maddie kicked off season 2. Wonderful. But you got to also check out Jeff's donut story. I'm telling you, I'm just going to leave it at that. You got to check out the donut story. But seriously, Maddie, the reason I'm excited is last week we had Doug Raybold on, who is going to be talking. He's going to be presenting. This week we have Maddie on, who's going to be presenting. So we're like just a lot of great guests on that are going to be. If you're going to the HDI conference next week, Support World Live, you get to meet these awesome people in person. A lot of the folks in the chat. And by the way, I don't necessarily read the chat while we're going during the show because it is only a quick show, but we have a lot of the live stream team and the HDI team in there interacting with everybody. So chat it up and have some fun and listen to what Maddie has to say. So Maddie, this is going to be your first conference presentation in front of IT thought leaders, and you're not talking about technology. So tell us what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm coming in strong. Coming in with the hot takes. So my focus is on employee experience. It's been so interesting. The reason, I have kind of had this passion for IT right now is this big shift that it's going through. And, it's a very similar shift to what customer success went through 10, 15 years ago, where the focus became around sort of the human element of understanding how service is landing. And IT is kind of right in the middle of it, right in the thicket. And I think there is a ton to learn from what customer success went through. And so I'm excited to share some of those secrets, tricks, tips, and things that I've learned that I find successful as I support my customer base.
Yeah, we'll get into it a little bit, but I got to ask you, so you were, as you said on Ben's show, a non-technical person. Why the hell would you get into technology? Although I got to tell you, you'll never be unemployed in this business for what you're doing for us.
Hey, I think technology is interesting, right? It's, we were talking about this in the pre-show a little bit. It's all learned. So the technology piece is something I can continue to learn from, continue to grow in. It's a skill set that I'm continuously sharpening, and it's ever changing, evergreen. To your point, like it's not going anywhere. So
no, and as we mentioned in the pre-show, IT folks, I'll say this, I'll put this out there because I know our buddy Ben said this, and you don't have to say it, but I will say, like, IT people, I've been in IT since 1995, and I can tell you, like, we have not been the best customer service group, ever. I would say I'm not going to ask if you agree with this or not, but you can say whether or not, but my opinion is, looking backwards over the last 30 years, we know what our customers' problems are, issues are, requests are, needs are, because just ask me, I'll tell you, I know what it is. I see the tickets. I know from the tickets, right? And we all know that's crap. We talked about, what had been equated to a story about flowers, like buying flowers for your wife because you think that's what, your partner, and that may need, just because I read your ticket and I think I know what you want doesn't mean you know what you want. So
Yeah, well, and I think people, I mean, IT didn't have to ask that question because where else were people going to go as an employee who's not technical? Like my only choice is to ask my IT department. And now, the market is hyper competitive, so I can just find another job with, a sort of more efficient IT team or the tools that I'm looking for, the technology that I want to use. Or I can figure it out myself. I can Google it at this point, right?
yeah,
Like I don't even
shadow IT. Yeah, shadow IT, which is funny because I tell people, you were right. I was the IT god. You needed me. You needed me.
Yeah.
Well, we used to say that about the electric company too. And how many other options are there out there now? Right? We're almost like a commodity, and if we're not competitive, I worked at a university where IT staff, I was internal IT, by the way. I was employed by the university, and the people in my college, not even just the university, but in my college, didn't have to use my service. They could actually hire their own or contract out.
Wild.
And it wasn't a big university either. It was medium, but so you're right. It's just, it's crazy. So you're going to talk to us about highlight some of the similarities between traditional customer service and the shift to experience management, right? Now, not to give everything away, but I'm sure there are thousands of our listeners tonight. Thousands of our listeners that aren't going to be at the conference. So tell us a little bit about it. Because those of us that are listening that are HDI people, we're coming to your thing anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest, everyone, please come and listen. I won't spoil too much of it. That way you have to come. I won't share any of the actual secrets. But, I think there's a shift right now where the entire C-suite is focused on that digital experience, that employee experience, right? And, like news alert, like guess who owns that digital experience? That's IT, right? Like IT owns it. IT is in charge of it. And so now you've got the CEO, COOs who are looking towards the CIO to say, what are we going to do to be more innovative? What are we going to do to make our employees feel like they're efficient, that they have the cool tools, that they're, that they're being heard? And I think now CIOs are having to go, it's a good question. I don't know. Like great questions.
Yeah.
Let me go back to you. And now they're having to figure out what they need to be measuring. Like how do you measure experience, right? That's really hard to do.
Right. And with CSAT and NPS, right?
Yeah. Like thumbs up, you did it. Like
holy
thumbs
cow.
Up, thumbs down.
Yeah. So, and I remember, and I think I've told this story before, but I remember at a place I was at, I was in charge of L1 and L2, and our boss, the owner of the company, it's a small company. We were an MSP, and we outsourced IT work to school districts. I'm talking K-12 school districts, right? And he said, here's what, to get your bonus, and that's all you have to say is you dangle money, right? To get your bonus, you need to resolve 60% of your tickets in 1 day and 90% in 3 days. And we hit that mark.
Done. Easy, right?
So you're laughing because you know where this is going, right?
Yes.
What do you think happened on that one?
Yeah, everything is game of, like, you can totally work the system, right?
Customers?
Like anything data related, you just can tweak it to make it, to spin it your way.
Yeah.
Right. Until you ask the question, like, did we actually resolve your issue? Like, you can't.
That was the thing. I went to one of the meetings, and unfortunately I was the sorry sucker that spent the time at the school districts as their IT director. And I constantly got told, all you care about is closing tickets, not helping us fix problems. And I went, I can't argue. How do you argue that? Like, can't. Yeah. So,
and I think the example I think I used in Ben's podcast is, it's like, if you're at a restaurant and you have service and it's, let's say it's really bad service, but the waiter is standing over you saying, okay, tip me, please fill this out. And they're watching you. What are you going to do? You're not going to be like, I'm going to leave you 10. You're going to leave 20% to make that interaction go away. Like, you're just like, okay, I'm over this. How do I get out of this as quickly as possible?
Yeah.
And that's the same way if you ask a survey without it being anonymous. They're going to be like,
exactly.
Okay, fine. Thumbs up.
You say that, and you're right. And the guy that put his money, literally the company's money where the mouth was, said something to me in his book back on the shelf there. Was like, when I read it, he was like, oh yeah, we not only did we survey our customers, but we offered them up like like prizes. We would randomly pick prizes every quarter. And I'm like, okay, would you give him like, a mouse pad? He's like, no, an iPhone, an iPad, a Surface Pro. I'm like, what? I'm like, no wonder they got good feedback. And it was good feedback because he was encouraging people to do that. So you're right. It was the flipping that, like, instead of me incentivizing you to fix problems fast, I'm going to incentivize the customer to tell me, what is it that I could do for you?
Yeah. And I think too, and I promise not to talk too much about, sorry, Ben, I promise
Ben.
not to talk too much about QStack, but the great thing about what QStack does is it usually, and what I've been learning is that it's generally not a people problem. People aren't generally afraid of the humans who are working in your front lines, right? It's
Right.
the support team in the back that isn't quite fulfilling the needs of the business, right? And so if you do something like a CSAT or an NPS where I know all the help desk techs in the front, and I don't want to like get them in trouble. And it's my friend, Bob that I get coffee with, and we meet at the water cooler. I don't want to say anything bad. That's not getting you any interesting feedback, right? So when you start looking at, okay, great, we know it's not a human problem, but what about the technology? Like, do you have the right computer? Do you have the right infrastructure in the conference room?
Yeah.
And you start asking those questions, and you find like, oh,
maybe not.
no,
Yeah.
maybe not. Maybe that's what we're missing.
You brought up a good point though, because I think you and I were chatting about this in the pre-show. Was like, I have worked for a few organizations where, matter of fact, the last one I was at, where I would talk to the people, and it was higher ed, so they'd just tell you what they're thinking. They don't care because you can't do anything to them anyway, especially faculty, right? And I would say to them, and like, I got to tell you, man, your help desk folks, they rock it. The people behind them, they suck.
Yeah. And I hear that, I'm reading feedback day in and day out, and you'll hear like, John in IT is amazing, but he wasn't able to fix my problem because he had to transfer me to someone else who couldn't fix my. It's like,
didn't want to,
exactly,
didn't have the time. Yeah.
So, I think it really, and it's the same in customer success, right? Like me as a customer success manager in the front lines, I can be the nicest, greatest, build the most rapport, but if my product team doesn't fix bugs, and my support engineers can't help me solve problems, and my support doesn't answer the chat, like, it's not a great experience for my customer.
Not at all, right?
As your front line, you can only do so much.
And I think I remember hearing you say something about like, in this customer success and employee, because we said like happy employees, happy customers kind of thing, right? Is you build trust, credibility, and the like that. So they trust you. They know you're going to fix it. You care. Because by the way, I complained about wireless in my building, and 2 days later, the signal strength went like from half to full or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge too. And I think, it's one, actually doing what you say is huge. The other big thing I talk about is you need to tell people you fix stuff.
That's another thing you said too, that was like, we don't like to go like this, right? Yeah.
But it's like that same, it's, if the tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, did it make a sound? Like, if you fixed my problems, but you didn't tell me that you fixed it. How am I supposed to? Like, I'm just going to keep doing my weird workaround that I've been doing that, takes me 10 minutes longer.
Yeah, I was talking to our mutual friend that we were talking about pre-show. I don't want to mention her name yet, today, but she was saying, we have this monthly newsletter to brag about like things that IT has done. She goes, it's not about me. It's about what we've done for the customer, what they want. And by the way, the reason I won't mention her name is because, they're a customer of QStack. So to respect Ben's, I don't want to mention them on air, but they believe in it. It's not because they have QStack. It's because they believe in what that mentality is, and so she truly, I could tell, you and I talked about reading a room and knowing people. You can tell, because you know who I'm talking about. And she is so genuine. I'm going, is she for real? I want to pinch her across the screen.
It's amazing, right? And that change starts at the top, right? I think, she's a good example because she is, her focus is experience. She is top of the food chain, and she spreads the message from the top down, sideways, all over. She is just an evangelist of the best kind.
And that's the thing, and it's important for this conversation because, Ben and I have been talking about QStack for, quite a few years. And I've told him I'd love to get it into some of the places that I worked at. But the problem is I can't sell it from the top. I mean, it doesn't matter how much my help desk or my desktop folks or whoever, but if you can't get a buy-in from the top, and that goes with customer success and employee success, right?
Yeah.
I shared with you some of the cultural issues that my place has because it's from the top. We all get it. We know that we're hamstringing ourselves, but
and the shift is coming, right? And customer success went through this back, there were all these tools coming out specifically for customer success people. And they were saying, just use the sales tools, use Salesforce, use that. It's like, that doesn't measure any of the things that I care about.
Right.
I need something that actually measures what my customer is going through and tracking my customer journey.
Yeah.
And, here we are with, there's how many different, just specifically designed for CSMs. There are CRMs out there that only solve customer success problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think the IT's sort of North Star metric is changing. It's going to be experience based in some way. There's going to be some element of how do we measure the other side of the keyboard, and it's not going. There's already a few sort of big competitors out there that Ben and I look towards, and it's just it's going to be a big space.
Yeah, and and I think one of the things that I wanted to mention was, like, I shared with you that I had, when I worked at the university, not all the people in my college, let alone university, were my customers. And one of the things that I heard Ben wrote in his book, and I questioned him on this, and he verified that that's what exactly right, was like, he didn't, when he was back in whatever job that we won't mention the name, because where the one place he was at was that he surveyed everybody, not just people who used IT. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I want to hear from the people that aren't my customers, because I want to know, A, what could I do for you? Why aren't you my customer? And, what am I doing wrong? Or what could I be doing? Right. So that's huge. And like, not just, because I was just talking to our help desk folks today about, how often a survey goes out after a ticket, and the one, and it was pretty bad, because the guy, doesn't work for me, works for our service desk manager, but he goes, I think a survey goes out for every time a person puts in a ticket. I'm like, well, that's horrible. If I put 3 tickets because there's some cases where you call in a problem and it's 3 tickets. So am I getting 3 surveys? And that's not really what happens, but he didn't even know that. Right. But now all these people that don't call in, I don't know what they're thinking. What do you want? What can I do to make it better?
Yeah. And Ben, Ben is, I think obviously I agree with him, because, I joined the mission here, but, we had a customer who challenged him on that too. And he said, fine, do a POC. And we did, the first round of POC was for only customers who had used IT in the last, I think it was like 90 days, and they got a score back. And then we did a second one for a month later for the entire workforce, and the score was drastic, and they signed a week later. I mean, it was just like a no-brainer.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, Maddie, I have to say, sadly, our time is up.
That's it. That was quick.
So on the screen, by the way, everybody, the Sport World Live conference, and it's on the screen here, is next week. It starts on Sunday if you're going for pre-conference sessions. Maddie will be session 108 on Wednesday at 10:15, session 1, number 108. So you got to see her. I know I'm going to stop in, definitely. And that says a lot, because you're up against some folks that I really, really like to hear, but
I know
I am too. So I'm up against the person that works for her. I'm like, that's one of my favorite people. But it's okay. It's okay. We're all there to, but I really, because of that, I really want to hear what you have to say, because it's kind of important, especially, I mean, it's really important to me no matter where I'm at. But so everybody that's listening, if you catch us before the conference and you're going, stop in and see Maddie. Maddie, I can't remember what room you're in, but I know it's session 108, and HDI does a great job of putting big billboards up outside, with your session name on it. They do a wonderful job on that.
Awesome.
So yeah. By the way, Maddie, we are still going to broadcast this show next week. We're going to do it live from Las Vegas. So maybe, and we don't have any particular guests. We want all of our, happy HDI family to stop by. So it'll be Wednesday. I think it will be probably 3:00 local time, which East Coast time where I'm at will be 6:00 instead of 7. Just because we're going to be broadcasting from the exhibition hall, which closes before we would normally do this show. So I want to make sure we get the show in. So please stop by, say hi, drag along your sidekick if he's going, because I didn't see him on the list. So he better be going.
He will be there.
And drag him in to say hi to everybody. And we'll just have a big old happy HDI live stream party. So
love it. Can't wait.
Thank you so much again. And I can't wait to meet you in person next week and hear what you've got to say about customer success in IT. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.